1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I am delighted to welcome our next guest, Kelly Ware. She is an author, a certified life coach, a Navy veteran, and motivational speaker, and has a powerful new book that I think is right on time. I think it's going to meet a lot of people exactly where they're at, helping to reframe the conversation on grief. Reframe the conversation on grief in ways that resonate with people who have lived through some pretty complicated family dynamics. I know Thanksgiving is right around the corner. It's the holiday season. It triggers a lot of anxiety for a lot of people because there's unresolved stuff that they're experiencing with members of their family, including but not limited to their parents. Her new book is called Unconventional Grief: Grieving the Loss of a Less Than Perfect Parent. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Dr. Corday, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here, and I welcome the opportunity to have a good conversation with you.
Well, we're so happy to have you here. Talk to us about your own origin story that took you on a journey that helped you to write a book like this.
Wow. How much time do we have for this interview? So the short of it
high level,
right? Bullet points, as my brothers tell me. So the short of it is I am a native of the Washington, D.C. area, born and raised there. And I grew up in a household with two parents. And to the outside looking in, we look like the Huxtables from The Cosby Show, right? But on the inside of the walls of the home was a much different picture. And so my father, who is my hero, super loving, all the things, and my mother, who was physically and verbally abusive to me. She was also a drug addict. And we had a very strained relationship, never had a healthy semblance of any form of a mother-daughter relationship. And so I lived life going through the trials and tribulations of navigating that relationship. And when she passed away, I thought that I was fine. Immediately after she transitioned, I was good. I planned the funeral, all the things, all the ducks were in the row. And the day after her funeral, I felt like I wanted to die. And so that is the impetus of this book. And it is because my grief experience was anything but traditional. And I didn't want other people who have experienced what I experienced to feel like they were alone. Because I know when I was going through that process, I thought that I was the only one. And so, we'll get into the interview. But yeah, that's the reason why I wrote the book.
Wow. That's pretty serious stuff. And so, talk to us about, some of the experiences that you actually felt comfortable writing about. Because I'm sure there are a lot of experiences that you left out of the book. It seems that writing a book like this, might be emotionally exhausting. I mean, how did you get through the process of even just writing the book? As somebody who is also an author, I know how much writing a book can take out.
If you are sleeping like this, don't. It wrecks your back. Obstructive sleep apnea happens when your upper airway repeatedly
of you, period, let alone emotionally. How did you get through it?
So for me, I never intended to write this book. This was not something that I consciously sat down and said, let me write this book. As a part of attempting to overcome the grief journey, I started journaling and just writing things down. And one of the things that my therapist encouraged me to do was to be honest about how I was really feeling about my mother and about how I felt after her transition in order to just get it out, right? And as I started writing, it was like things were just coming together. And so since this is my third book, I was like, well, I know I'm not the only one. Right. And the reason why I put less than perfect parent is maybe your parent wasn't a drug addict or, addicted to alcohol. Maybe they were addicted to gambling. Maybe they were absent. right? But at some point in life, they have to transition. And if you outlive them, what do you do with the emotions that you hold, that you're stuck with, right? You don't get to place them on anyone else. And so I wrote the book as a means of getting through my own grief journey, but then also I felt empowered to help other people understand their grief, understand what they're feeling, give them permission to feel those negative, crazy feelings, have those thoughts that you're having, and then also figure out a way to overcome dealing with that type of grief.
Were there moments where you felt like you were telling your mama's business? And
yes.
And how did you overcome that? Because I think there are a lot of folks that, feel compelled to protect the parent who may have disappointed them or who may have harmed them in certain ways, and find a way to sort of excuse the behavior. And when it comes to any sort of public forum, let alone a book, there are a lot of people out there that may feel the need to protect the image or the facade of that parent. Did you experience that? And if so, how did you overcome it?
So for me, I did not experience that. And the reason why I didn't is I am the person in the family that's going to have the conversation. We're going to talk about it, right? If it's an elephant in the room, the elephant will be addressed if I'm there. And so I have always been a catalyst for courageous conversations. So for me, as long as I'm telling the truth, then there is no law against the truth or no harm against the truth. And I felt it necessary to talk about that because so many people do hide behind you don't talk about the Black mama, right? She is at the head of the family. She is the person who made it all happen. So most people don't understand the experience that I had, right? And some people, they had it, but they're too afraid to have the conversation. So I wrote this book for a couple of reasons. One, to begin the conversation. This kind of grief it's normal to experience. It's not normal to talk about. And so I wrote the book to start the conversation, but I also wrote the book for parents who are less than perfect and they're still living. Read this book, see the impact that you had on your children, and then do what you have to do to repair the relationship as healthy as possible so that your children don't experience the grief that I experienced when you transition. So I'm not afraid to talk about what needs to be talked about, as long as we are telling the truth and keeping things honest. I had to be mindful of my brothers. I do have two older brothers. I'm the youngest and the only girl. I had to be mindful of my father, who, while he wasn't married to my mother, when she passed, still at some point, that was his wife. But at the end of the day, I am not going to suffocate my voice or dampen my truth in order to make other people feel comfortable. Because at what cost? Me? No, I'm not willing to do that. And when the truth really comes out and people begin to see, there's a level of understanding that's had, right? And so I didn't tell this story to demonize my mother. In fact, I talk about how I learned my mother's story and it helped me to forgive her. And that was a very imperative part of my grieving process as well. So it's a balanced conversation.
When we come forward, I want to talk about your journey to forgiveness. It's not easy to do. There are a number of folks who are listening to us live in Los Angeles and across the country right now, who may not have the tools to forgive, may not think that they will ever be able to reach a point of forgiveness. They might even think that the forgiveness is for the other people, as opposed to that forgiveness being the thing that sets them free and allows them to lay their burdens down. And so when we come forward, I want to talk about your journey to forgiveness. Like Miss Jane Pittman, I'm sure it ain't been no crystal stair. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with the author of a new book, Unconventional Grief, Grieving the Loss of a Less Than Perfect Parent. More with Kelly Ware when we come forward. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and she is Kelly Ware. She is the author of a new book that you need to go get your hands on. It's called Unconventional Grief, Grieving the Loss of a Less Than Perfect Parent. As I said before, we're heading into the holiday season. And I know there's a lot of people that experience a lot of anxiety because somebody in the home, somebody at the Thanksgiving table, don't sit right with them. And this book is really about really easing on down the road on your own healing journey. And with that, Kelly, I want to give you a chance to share a little bit about your healing journey, specifically forgiveness. It's really tough for people. And I think a lot of folks got it twisted. They think that forgiveness is about letting the other person who may have harmed you off the hook, right? They think that it is not about accountability, but it's about letting them off the hook, when in fact, forgiveness, in my view, is also about laying our own burdens down and freeing us of the thing that's holding us back. And so what exactly was the thing that was holding you back the most in your relationships that was tied to the grief that you had related to your mom?
Wow, it's a great question. So because I never really received the nurturing and love of a mother the way that I should have received it, it prevented me from being able to connect to other people. And so when I went through the grief journey, I noticed a lot of things about myself, right? The other thing was, because I am an overachiever, that overachieving came from me trying to win my mother's love. The only time she would really, be, any level of loving towards me was when she would brag about me to her friends. So I figured, okay, the more I do, maybe she'll take some of that bragging, right, that energy that she's giving to others, and she'll turn it towards me. And when that didn't happen, let me tell you what I discovered going through therapy is that when I continued in overachieving, right? My mother was a federal employee, so I became a federal employee, and I rose to a level that was higher than her. So I'm going to show you, lady, like, oh yeah, you did this, but I did it better. My mother was a hairdresser. She's a kitchen beautician. Back in the day, the press and comb on the stove, all the things. She had people lined up outside of the door, and I was forced into childhood labor to help her with her clients. So I became a licensed cosmetologist, right? She never got her license. I got mine. So now I'm one step above you. So I didn't realize that I had made it my business to outdo everything that she did as a means to attempt to heal or attempt to overcome. And I never reached the level of healing until I forgave my mother. That was the key and the catalyst for me to really embark on a healthy.
Watch what magnesium does to your bowels.
If you have to wipe more than 4 times after you poop, here's
healing journey.
What was the hardest thing to forgive her for?
Let me see, because I got a whole laundry list. No, the hardest thing to forgive my mother for was the fact that she knew that I was being molested in 2 different countries. Okay, so in the US and in Europe. And she never did anything about it. And in fact, she kept putting me in those environments as a child to allow it to happen. That was the most difficult thing that I had to forgive my mother for. And it took years, decades, for me to get to a place of fully forgiving her. But I finally did. And can I tell you what helped me to do that, right? Because I think a lot of people struggle with forgiveness because they feel like if I forgive you, then I'm giving you a pass, or I'm giving you a green light to say that it's okay that this happened. And for me, I had to learn my mother's story. My mother was also a childhood abuse victim by her father, who was an alcoholic. She witnessed her father unfortunately be physically abusive to her mother. My mother was also molested as a child. And so her having all of these experiences, back in those days, you don't let anything out of the household. What happens in this house stays in this house. And when you go out of the doors, you present perfection. So my mother took that rearing that she received, and that is what she used to raise myself, right? The reason why she went into cosmetology, I never had a bad hair day, okay? Hair was always laid. Eyebrows were being arched at age 12, okay? I wasn't able to wear sneakers in junior high school and high school, all the things, but it was a facade to cover up the things that were happening in the house because we were taught to present perfection. But when I learned that my mother was doing to me what she was taught to do, and I had to understand she doesn't have access to the information or didn't have access to the level of information that I had. The internet did not exist in the 80s, right? And so now I can Google anything and find out an answer in a matter of seconds. Whereas, if she needed to find something out, you would hope that the library would have the most recent version of the encyclopedia, right? I'm dating myself at this point. But
you
once
dating us.
Huh?
I said, you dating us. We're with you.
So, but once I learned her story, it helped me to at least empathize with her. I could understand why she did the things that she did because she didn't know any better. And so for me, understanding her story helped me to, even though what she did was terrible, I could understand why she did it. And in understanding why she did it, it helped me to release her from the debt I felt like she owed me because I understood why.
Wow. What an incredible healing journey. I can't thank you enough for summoning the courage to not just share with us something that is very personal, deeply personal, not just sharing with us on the airwaves, but committing it to the page where there are so many people out there, names that you may never know, that we may never know, whose lives will be enriched because of what you have committed to the page. I want to encourage all of our leaders, learners, and listeners out there to go out and pick up this book. And if you don't pick it up for you, I have a feeling that there's somebody in your orbit that could use this book, that might be blessed in some way, learning from Kelly Ware's healing journey. The book is called Unconventional Grief, Grieving the Loss of a Less Than Perfect Parent. My hope is that in a world that feels topsy-turvy, the world feels a little bleak sometimes, I hope folks will see this as a silver lining, as a ray of hope. May your book be a lighthouse to many, many, many people out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate this conversation. I think it's one of those ones that are hard, but absolutely have to happen. So thanks again.
Absolutely. We'll have to have you back again soon, but we'll have to leave it here.